Yeah, Eugene! Yeah, science! Hey guys, David here with the new review for the latest episode of The Walking Dead, and it was called Hostiles and Calamities, as Eugene called it, because if you guys are a fan favorite of Eugene Porter, our favorite mullet head, then you're in for an amazing episode, because it was all about him arriving at the sanctuary. And I guess if you want to look at things at a chronological order, this was actually technically the mid-season premiere, because this takes place right after we left off in the mid-season finale from back in December, where Eugene was taken away by the Saviors and Negan himself, and we arrive at the sanctuary, traveling a little bit back in time, with two things occurring: Eugene arriving at the sanctuary, and Dwight discovering that Daryl had escaped. Both essentially make up the stories that we follow here in this next episode, and yes, Rick and the group and all the other people that we are following along to lead up to the all-out war are completely omitted from this episode. So yes, we're dealing with another bottle-ish type of episode where we're centering on just these characters, but it was still somewhat of a fun one because we follow Eugene, who could be kind of hit and miss for some people, but there's some things to Eugene here in this episode that we didn't see before, where even he's starting to kind of break out of his mold. We still see him be terrified of Negan in his very cowardly way, where he's whimpering, he's like shivering, he looks like he's about to cry and shit his pants at any moment, but he has a couple of moments of breakthrough where even he's kind of amazed at the development that he's making, and he at least winces a tiny little bit of a smile, no matter what's happening around him, whether it be women flocking his feet because of all the cool shit that he's doing, no matter what the purposes were behind that, or it's him getting something done, acquiring something without somebody pushing him around and saying no to him, and walking away saying, oh my god, I just did that. And I found a little bit of respect for Eugene in that sense. He's not necessarily my favorite character, but should something happen to him by the end of the season, I'll feel for him just a little bit more after witnessing his development here in this episode. Especially now having seen how stronger he's become from the mind, as well as being able to catch on to things a little bit quicker. I liked that he was smart enough to tell that the pills weren't exactly for that girl, they were going to be for Negan, and he knew that it was better to just stay put for now and accept himself as being Negan rather quickly, as we saw there in his scene with Negan. It was smarter for him to play that card than to kind of do it Rick style, because he was there that night when all that shit happened and we saw the deaths of Glenn and Abraham. He knew that he didn't want that to happen again, because like he himself put it, he is not replaceable, the wives are. And if he were to fuck up and he was to be discovered, he wouldn't necessarily be paying the price, because he would still be an asset to Negan to create those bullets. That's some heavy arsenal shit right there, where people don't have to go out and looking for weapons. That's very, very valuable. So what is Negan exactly going to do to punish Eugene? He's going to go out more and find more of Rick's group one by one and kill him in a very brutal way, and that will be the ultimate punishment for Eugene, and he knows that. He's smarter than that, and he played that card well. And The Walking Dead looks like it's learning from what people have been talking about, how dreary it could be, especially with the season 7 opener. Everyone was talking about, oh, it's so dark and gritty and gruesome and brutal and violent, that they really are cranking up the humor. Last week with Rick finding something to smile about amongst those homeless people, and now this week Eugene's antics, whether it be with him playing video games and talking about a bunch of nonsense and being very oblivious to those women, to one of the girls saying, oh, that's some fascinating shit, I could talk about that all night, and he's shaking in the boat. We're like, oh my god, fight the temptation. And then later on, his little Bill Nye the Science Guy demonstration. The humor was done really well this episode. It felt earned, because not only is Josh McDermott really good at getting his timing right, I have to commend the guy for being able to nail the character as Eugene, as well as being able to hit those comedic notes, because it's very hard to do. Timing is everything, and he did it really perfectly. But also because The Walking Dead, not as a show, I feel has earned this level of humor, especially if they're going to set us up for some heartbreak. As long as it's done well and justified, and there's some ends that are tied up, and nothing feels betrayed, and nothing feels like, I honestly no other way to put it, bullshit, I'm accepting of that. And one of the things that also felt kind of humorous is how much of a contrast Eugene's acceptance into the sanctuary was different from Daryl's. Daryl was treated like a savage animal, whereas Eugene is more like an injured puppy. And I feel like Negan, even though Negan almost doesn't really give a rat's ass about what type of character Eugene is, he's valuable. So he has to somewhat accommodate to kind of rope him in, because he feels like this guy's going to be easier for him to accept himself as Negan. So when he arrives, cozy little apartment. You got video games, you got books, you got that stereo playing the same song that Daryl heard on a loop that drove him to almost drove him to insanity, which I think is the nice little connecting factor. That yeah, you know, you guys have two different little environments here. One is happy and one is sad, but there's always that lingering thing that, hey, don't forget, you're Negan. And since I touched upon Daryl, let's go ahead and talk about Dwight's little exploits on trying to find Sherry, his long-lost wife, who he believes helped out Daryl, which probably is the safe bet here. And they went back to trying to sympathize Dwight, and it was alright, but just seeing that sudden switch from sympathetic Dwight back to assholish Dwight, I'm expecting we will be seeing some more asshole Dwight from here on out, especially with his little betrayal to the doctor there at the end where he pinned it all on him. I don't know what it is, but even though they're trying to show it with some shots that maybe Dwight feels kind of bad about this, and maybe he's going to be the one to kind of help out Eugene, and maybe Eugene will escape, only this time Dwight will take the responsibility, and possibly Lucille to the head along with it. I don't know how sure that journey is going to be there, if there's going to be more episodes of going back and forth between sympathetic Dwight or asshole Dwight that's going to be taking away guns, because that was just so jarring to the point where I felt like they were filmed in different schedules. So just keep that away from happening, and I think we could have a good thing with Dwight where he will find some kind of redemption. And that little theory of the two of them helping each other out to hopefully bring down Negan could be somewhat foreshadowed by that ending where they're both at the top of that little scaffold agreeing that they are indeed Negan, only with the layer of resentment amongst their face, illustrated differently, but I feel like there's some common ground there that we might be seeing a whole lot more of later on in the season. But for now, this was a good episode, and needless to say, it was somewhat of a filler, bottle-ish type of episode, but at least it was crafted well. So I'm going to be giving whatever the fuck it was called, something Calamities, I can't remember, a low 8 out of 10. Enjoyable episode, not one of the best, but definitely moving the plot forward in a way that I can watch and doesn't make me wish that I was watching something else. Doesn't make me wish that I could have been watching the Oscars. At least that's a plus. But then again, I would have missed that epic fuck up at the end with Best Picture, which I did go back and watch, and oh my god! So please let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this week's episode of The Walking Dead. What are your theories that are going to happen between Dwight and Eugene? Do you think that Eugene is going to remain a Negan and he's going to betray Rick's group, or do you think he has something else cooking since he's so smart? Like and share this video, and of course follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at DarkSproutDavid, and of course subscribe for more reviews on The Walking Dead, as well as other things like video games, movies, etc. Got so many exciting things to bring you guys, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care.